It's time for Inside the Paranormal Virginia, with live talk and actual video of paranormal activity, ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs. Now join creator and host, John Salas.
Welcome to Inside the Paranormal Virginia. I'm John Salas, your host. Thanks for tuning in. This is the fourth show we're having, and I'm excited about this show. The other two shows were great, but this is going to be a special show. Tonight, we have the pleasure of having with us a UFO researcher and paranormal investigator. She belongs to the Smith Mountain MUFON network, which is the Mutual UFO Network. Her name is Gaylen Chauncey. Gaylen, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
We are going to be talking about aliens, UFOs, alien abductions. This is going to be an exciting hour for everyone. Gaylen, to begin with, give us a little background of how you got it started with UFOs, how you got started with extraterrestrials and aliens.
Since I was little, we saw them as kids. My family saw them, the neighbors would see them out in the street. Triangle shapes were the ones we saw most common, and I was curious.
And where was that at?
This is in Mount Shasta, California, so it's actually a UFO hotspot, and I was just wondering, because there was this certain fear that people had when they were looking at the UFOs, and I was curious. And I decided one day, probably when I was 19, my sister and I got together and we filed with MUFON in LA, we filed our cases with them. So they're the ones I got, because we didn't know who else to talk to. This was in 1980s, you know, there wasn't a lot of UFO groups around, at least ones that were legit.
So your experience with UFOs takes you all the way back a lot of years, and it's continued right up to now, right?
Yes, it has.
How's it been for you doing this?
Really, the unknown doesn't scare me, okay? And the UFOs have never scared me. My interest in them is always go forward. And I investigate, and I don't mind reaching out to other people that might have had the same experiences.
So you believe that UFOs exist?
Yes.
And you believe in aliens?
Yes.
And you've had encounters with UFOs?
Yes.
And you continue to work as an investigator with MUFON right here in the state of Virginia. How long have you been here in Virginia?
Oh, I've been here probably about almost 30 years now. So I came here when I was 20 years old.
Now, with your network, with the MUFON network, do you get a lot of cases sent to you from other people, or are you actually out in the field investigating UFO sightings yourself?
I'm out in the field. What it is with the MUFON database is we all input any information, okay? And if something pops up like that's around this area and they need somebody to go talk to, people have reported an abduction, an encounter, they'll send me if it's in the same area. So I'll go out and go talk to them, investigate the land. If they say UFO has landed, write down their experiences. Most people just want to tell you what they saw. That's what they want to get. Nobody will believe them. So they want to talk to somebody that they know that's going to listen to their story.
Are there a lot of sightings here in Virginia?
People would be shocked how many sightings there are here in Virginia. Okay. From what I understand, with all the investigating and research I've done, there seems to be the triangle-shaped UFOs and the cylinder ones are seen more in Virginia than any other type of UFO.
Now, I've done a little background check on UFOs and the history of UFOs. It really goes back literally hundreds and hundreds of years, sightings. It goes back maybe even longer than that. And it's been all over the world. I mean, people have described and written about encounters with aliens. It goes back to the ancient world, right?
It does. If you go back, one thing I did was I did backtrack. I was curious, when did UFOs started? Well, it kind of surprised me to go back to caveman time, to our beginning. And I realized that UFOs have been around just as long as we have. And it seems like many years ago, the UFOs were regarded as a great thing to the people. They were excited about the UFOs coming to see them, the aliens. Some of them helped them, but some of them weren't so nice. There were a lot of wars, too, between these alien races.
Right.
And so this history holds that, and it blows my mind that they say, well, that really didn't happen. That somebody just was writing a science fiction movie. or story.
I think a lot of people are skeptical of, the other topics we had on the show. We have Bigfoot on the show, Bigfoot researcher, and that was, and I talk about ghosts because I'm a paranormal investigator. And same thing with, psychic. There's a lot of people that are skeptical of the things that are mysterious. UFOs, I think, are a very intriguing, fascinating subject. We actually have some old-time pictures that were done back in the 1400s. Now, this picture that you're watching right here, this picture was drawn, or I guess painted, I'm sorry. It was painted back around 1450. I forget the name of the artist. And it's like the Madonna, but you see behind her, it looks to me exactly like a UFO. Does it look like that to you?
Oh, yeah. How many objects flew in the sky back then?
Now, what's interesting is that the man that's standing there has his hand, like he's looking up at it, and there's a dog there looking up at it, too. I would, you have to put everything together. Where did this painter get this information that he could just draw a UFO, unless people have seen it before or it was common? It just looks to me like that's a UFO.
And it was common for them back then to see UFOs all the time. And it was nothing new. They saw them in the sky, they drew them, they painted them. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of fear associated with the UFOs. And
I think there's probably more fear today.
Yes, there is more fear today.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next picture. Now, this one I kind of like. This was a depiction that they found in the Northwest in some caves. And to me, it looks like spacemen. And actually, this was done by Native Americans.
Yes.
So Native Americans put this on a cave wall. I don't know. You see, it looks like they have helmets on, and they have some objects in their hands. But this was, I think they said this was only about 400 or 500 years old. But that's incredible to me. That's some irrefutable evidence that there's something out there going on.
They drew what they saw.
Right.
Period.
I don't think they were making that up. Okay, we go to the next one. Now, this one was kind of a cool one. This is about in the 1700s, and it's in India. And now I know there's a lot of history about UFOs in India, right? And there's right there, the artist drew that. And those guys are just looking up, and it looks like the one guy saying, "See, I told you so." There's something that was flying around, right?
Yes,
That's what it looks like to me.
Look.
Yeah. Now, there's also some classic UFO pictures that we included. And the reason why we included them is because they didn't have a technology then to doctor up photographs like they have the technology today.
Exactly.
This one, I think, was taken around the 1930s. And when I read some of the accounts of the people who took this, they weren't looking for notoriety. No. They weren't trying to make money from this. They just took pictures of something they saw.
And they were just wondering what it was.
This was another one from, I think, it says there, 1951, and this was in Lubbock, Texas. And then when they actually showed this, I think, to the military said, "Oh, that was just a flock of birds." That was their explanation for this shot. Now, this one was kind of an interesting. This was taken by a farmer, and his wife was present, and it was in Kansas, and it's called the Trent. And I think he had taken 4 or 5 pictures. But this farmer had no reason to try to make a hoax.
No.
So to me, there is something there. Here's another one. This is in 1952 that was taken. Now, you got to remember, too, that back then, there was like the flying saucers were like...
1950s,
in the 50s, it was the big scare. Everybody was talking about this. Now, I'm sure there were probably some photographs that were probably doctored or that were forged. But when some of these are some of the classic old ones that I just think have a lot of credibility. And this one was more of a recent one that was taken. With today's technology, it can be forged, but some of the people that have really looked at this thinks that this is authentic, an authentic UFO. Here's another one from 1950. And this was taken in Illinois. I love the old ones.
And you have to be fast with your camera. It's not like you're prepared to see a UFO and you have your camera ready. Okay, it's you got to grab that camera and take a picture, especially something from the 1950s. You had to be really seeing something, and you had to be fast.
Now, there are different types of UFOs,
Yes.
correct?
Oh, yeah.
Like, now, I'll share with you the one experience I had. This was 1980. I was on the beach in Atlantic City, New Jersey, with a good friend of mine, Frankie Maizano, and we were walking with these two young ladies that were our dates on the beach, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and we were looking up at the sky, and Frank was asking me a couple questions about where's the Big Dipper, and I was showing him things, and all of a sudden he said, well, what's that? And coming across where the water was breaking there, where the waves were coming in, was an object. It was kind of triangular. It had lights coming out from the bottom of it. It was metallic, and it was moving pretty slow. What struck me was that it was totally silent. There was no noise.
Yeah.
We all four of us saw it probably for a good, I'd say, between 5 and 10 seconds, and then it was gone. We saw the lights. We saw it was metallic. It was there. You know, the girls wanted us to go report it to the police, and I said, well, you know, I had just gotten out of the Air Force a few years before, and I knew that the United States did not have technology at that time, and I thought to myself, wow, I don't know what I just witnessed. I guess that's probably the closest thing I came to witnessing a UFO. Now, how about yourself?
I think one of the best experiences I had was going home to L.A. My sister picked me up in L.A. was coming in for a trip, and we were driving up to see my grandparents, and they lived a couple hours out of L.A. And you're talking 4 lanes on each side. I was driving her car, and everybody's speeding. And she had a T-Bird with those windows that came on top so you could see through it from the roof. And this light kept shining in, a bright light in the car. I slowed down, I speed up, and the light stayed with us. Okay. Well, in California, and this was getting dark, a helicopter shines a light on you, means pull over, you're going to get a ticket. A cop will be right behind you. So I pulled over, and my sister and I were just gabbing away, and that's when we noticed all the other cars were pulling over. We're like, well, what's going on? And the light disappeared. So I got out of my car, and what struck me more than anything, and I'll never forget it, was this semi-truck was in front of me, and this guy was leaning back against it, and he kept saying over and over again it wasn't real, and I could hear his fear in his voice. It was just so real, and I'll never forget how scared he was. And finally I looked up, and there was a massive triangle UFO going back and forth the whole freeway. It just is lights.
So a number of people witnessed
Everybody
this.
was pulling. You're talking 8 lanes of freeway, and people were pulling over and watching it. It was just going over the cars, going back and forth like that, and moving itself up. Okay.
So there was a bunch of people pulled over, and this was just hovering over you guys?
Yeah, everybody was watching
the light
it.
was passing everybody.
Yeah, it started moving along, and my sister was she had a meltdown. Yeah, she was very scared.
Were you afraid?
No, I wasn't afraid. I was trying to get my camera out, so I can get a picture because my luggage was in the back. But my sister was having a meltdown. She was afraid if I took a picture, they were going to come get her. Well, that didn't help because we left, and I said, let's get out of here. And we got out of there, and next thing we knew, it was pitch dark, and we didn't know where we were at.
Oh, okay. So did you take a wrong turn somewhere?
No, it was light or last thing we remembered. It was pitch dark, and it was about 4 hours later, I found a payphone, and I called my grandparents. And to this day, they thought that we went and partied in L.A. at a bar before we came home. And
did you have a loss of time?
Yeah, 4 hours.
And that's typical, though, of UFOs, with UFO sightings, right?
And we were 2 hours outside of L.A. It took us the opposite direction. It took us 4 hours to get back home. And it took us, and then we were gone for 4 hours. And
were you disoriented at all?
No. The only thing that was weird, and I don't know why, was we stopped at the gas station to fill up for gas and make the call. We were inside maybe less than 10 minutes, and we came out and we got in her car. Well, you never saw 2 people get out of a car so fast. I don't know what it was about that light or what happened to the car, but every fly in that state was inside the car. Every fly. We had to go in there and buy bug spray and get all the flies out. Every fly in the world. It covered every inch of the car on the inside.
Do you think it had anything to do with?
I think it was somehow the light. It shined something on the car.
It attracted
the flies.
Or some kind of energy that attracted the bugs?
It was wild. Wild experience.
Now, when it comes, I know there's all different shapes of UFOs, right? They come in, but what are the most common shapes that they come in?
Okay. The most common is the triangle, okay, and then you have the cylinder ships, or what they call the cigar shapes. That's a name from the Old West. That's what the early settlers and cowboys called them, because it was the only reference they had was the cigar-shaped ships. Okay, and there are some that are huge. I don't know, they're like 2 football fields in size, and they have a dome on top. And it's a flying saucer, but 2 football fields in size is pretty
Now, I
large.
remember about the one sighting that they had in Arizona where, I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of people saw this massive...
Huge.
And the United States government and the military just kind of like, you know, said, no, they didn't
You're
want to...
seeing things, it's flares,
Yeah, now that's another topic. Do you think our government has a lot more information that they're leading on about UFOs and extraterrestrials and aliens?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. They'll do anything to cover it up. They'll report false reports just to make somebody else's case look bad. Okay, and they'll do it on purpose. But yes, I think the government is totally hiding it, and I think they're doing it because of fear.
Okay, well, I mean, I know that there's a lot of countries that are finally coming around and saying that we have some evidence, we have some photographs. I know Spain has, England has, Canada has. The United States is lacking in that, right? We're not really with a lot of other countries. Why do you think that is?
I mean, think about it. Think of the technology that the United States has right now from modern aliens and from our ancient past, okay? Because weapons have been recovered, ships have been recovered from our past that were left over. And how upset do you think these other countries are going to be when they find out that the United States has in its possession these type of weapons and ships that they're
So it
not
may be in their
saying.
own self-interest,
Yes,
right? Not to share that.
exactly.
You know what? We're going to have to take our first commercial break, but we have a lot more when we come back with Gaylen Chauncey right here. We're going to be looking at more photographs. We're going to be talking about aliens, extraterrestrials. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Nelson.
Well, but Tarzan like Vine. Vine, here at GR Chevrolet, we can put you in this brand new Silverado 4-wheel drive. At GR Chevrolet, you can buy this green, brand new Chevrolet Silverado 4-wheel drive. Ranks #1 in government safety ratings. Here at GR Chevrolet, we make buying cars fun. Tarzan the Musical, April 21st through May 1st.
At 24/7 Home Security, we keep you connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can control your thermostat, you can watch your cameras, all from your tablet and smartphone. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even the camera shooting this commercial can't hide from our systems. 24/7 Security, we can remote you into anything. 24/7 Home Security, located at 1000 South Memorial Boulevard, Martinsville, Virginia. Come see us.
When news is happening, you want to stop and call us at 656-NEWS. That's 656-6397.
Learn the answer to this question and many more as we study the book of Revelation starting March the 9th at the Church of Christ at 823 Starland Avenue.
Sun's out, rain's gone, time to get your car washed. Come by any of the Nelson dealerships, get your oil changed for $29.95, and get you a free car wash. Come see us. The sun's shining.
Summertime's here and you're going to do a lot of traveling. You need the Auto Tech check. Don't let your brakes have you coming to a stop. You need the Auto Tech check. Don't let your belt have you broken down at the beach. Get the Auto Tech check. Don't let a bad tire ruin your vacation. Get the Auto Tech check. Don't let some strange noise cause you to break down on your trip. Get the Auto Tech check. Why should you come to Auto Tech? For our service, knowledge, and special hour warranty. 5 years, 60,000 miles. Come see us at Auto Tech. Don't settle for any check. You need the Auto Tech check.
Hello, I'm attorney Phil Gardner. If you or a member of your family has been in a car wreck or other personal injury type event, you already know what an absolute hassle it is. Let us take care of it for you. We'll do it all. We know what to do.
Tune in on Monday nights at 8 p.m. right here to see Inside the Paranormal Virginia with your host, that's me, John Salas. We're going to have fun. We're back inside the paranormal. We're talking with Gaylen Chauncey. She is a UFO investigator for the MUFON network right here in Virginia. And before the break, we were just talking about the different types of the UFO crafts, the different ships that they have. And we're going to be showing some more photographs, and then we're going to be talking more about aliens. So why don't we just get right into some of the pictures, because Gaylen brought some really good stuff. So explain to us what this is, Gaylen.
Okay, this was at Smith Mountain Lake, and we were sitting there enjoying the sun and the water. And this was a huge object. This wasn't small. I would say probably maybe 10 size bigger than a jet. What got our attention was it did circles. It did about 3 tight circles in a row, and then it took off. It was so close to the sun, it was hard for me to get a picture because I was being blinded by the sunlight. And that was the best one that came out. And all of us saw it, and it was huge, and no jet could do that, and then it just disappeared. We never even saw it fly off.
How many of you were there?
4 of us.
There was 4 witnesses to this? Did anyone else get any other pictures?
No, because they're using their phones. So when you use a smartphone, you know, it's so far out that you could barely see it. Where I was able to zoom in, I just had a hard time because it was so close to the sun. I was just being blinded. I was lucky to get a picture.
Okay.
I always carry my regular camera.
Great, that's good. Can we get the next picture? Okay. Okay. I see that one there. The arrow's pointing to it. Is that the same picture at a different angle?
No, this was actually a couple weeks later. Okay, I got contacted by a couple at Smith Mountain Lake, and they live on the lake. And while they were boating, they noticed an object in the sky that was bigger than a jet. And it was just flying all over the place, and they knew it wasn't a jet. They managed to get one picture of it. Well, that night, they were in bed, and they heard this splashing noise, and they look out to the lake, and this object looks like it was just like giant ball, comes out of the water with no lights and no sound, and shoots straight up in the air.
So
that's when
these witnesses said that there was a UFO coming out of Smith Mountain Lake.
Yep. So they think it was the same thing that they saw in this picture.
You know, that to me is pretty incredible. I mean, Smith Mountain Lake is a local area. It's a local lake. It's a tourist area. It's a great place to be. And is Smith Mountain Lake considered a hotspot for UFOs?
I consider it a hotspot because there are so many sightings. And I've lived there for 20 years, and I probably saw maybe at least 10 UFOs.
That's incredible. Can we go on to the next one?
It's popular. Okay. This is an object that is next to the sun. All right, it's not the moon, because we located the moon, and we watched it for 30 minutes. We call it the Death Star. Don't know what it is. There were several witnesses on this one, and several people got pictures.
Was that object moving?
No.
It was
stationary. And that's what got our attention. So we got on the computer to see where the moon was located. And, of course, it was opposite side and only a quarter moon. You can see where the sun is. And we couldn't figure out what it was. And that's why we gave it the name Death Star.
Okay.
It was a huge, whatever it was, it's massive. It was the size of a full moon.
Okay. Next one, please.
And this one right here.
I see those three lights.
I know,
okay.
And it's a triangle, and I think it's almost like they use a cloaking device to cover up the rest of the ship, and only the lights sometimes show through.
Well, obviously this was taken at nighttime or close to night, because I see that, so it was hard to see if there was an object in between that. But those 3 lights were really like on a triangular ship,
and they were moving as one object. So it's just sometimes frustrating when you're taking pictures and you can only get the light of the UFO. You don't get the full UFO because you don't expect to see
because
one.
It's too dark.
And
it's too dark.
That's the disadvantage.
Now, I remember, here's another one. When I was in the Air Force and I was stationed at Homestead Air Force Base, I remember some of the pilots that worked the alert pad would say that they saw lights like that and they could not explain it, and they were up there, and this is in 1976, but they said it doesn't look like anything we have, it doesn't look like anything the Russians have, and they would always scratch their heads and say, we saw some weird stuff up there. And they were lights just like the ones that you just showed.
Explain it. Now, this one's a triangle UFO. I had to let the dog out 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is January, and it's like 20 degrees outside. I walk outside with the dog, and I was shocked to see a giant, triangle-shaped UFO following the street. It was just moving along the street, and silent as can be. Ran inside and grabbed my smartphone and managed to get that picture right there. Well, at the same time, one of the neighbors was leaving for work, and she called me, and she was very scared because when she was getting her car, and she lives right down the street from me, she watched it pass her.
So you've had neighbors in your area, and they've reported UFOs, and they've talked about it openly with you?
Absolutely. When people see my car, my license plate says "Love UFOs." You wouldn't believe that that's a way to get people to talk to me. They'll stop me in parking lots, and they'll come to me because they know I'm into UFOs and they want to tell me their story or show me their picture.
So do you think there's a reluctancy on people that have experiences with UFOs, with sightings, that they just don't want to share them because they're afraid of what people would think of them?
You wouldn't believe how many investigations I do, and it's confidence. I promise them that I will not share this information. I'm just asking what happened, and I'm using that.
And they open up to you and they tell you their story?
And and it stays that way. It doesn't, their names don't go anywhere, their addresses go nowhere. I make sure that what they have is not associated with them because they just don't want anybody to know it was them.
I'd like to get onto the topic now of the different, we did some of the ships, we did some pictures. Yeah. Let's talk about the different aliens, okay? Now that's I know that most people have seen the real common picture of what they call the grays.
Yes.
They all have the little slits in their eyes. They're small little gray guys. Abductees have talked about that. People have seen about that. But there's more than just one alien, correct?
Absolutely. I think in our little tiny galaxy, there are a lot of visitors. There are so many types of aliens and UFOs that people, if they sat down and looked at all the different types of UFO and aliens, would go, whoa. You're talking hundreds and hundreds.
But what are the most common? What are the most common that people share with as far as people talk about?
Okay, I would say the most common are the grays. Okay, it's funny because every one of them will tell me the same thing. It's the eyes they remember. Okay, it's just something about the eyes that really freak them out and scare them.
We have some pictures of the different aliens, Brian. Can we put that up there?
Okay, let's start with these guys right here. And these are humans. If the fact that they walked out of a UFO, you would think they were just like you and me. Okay, they look just like us, and they are the ones that are associated with the cigar-shaped UFOs. And people.
So they just look like normal human beings.
Yep, if they hadn't come off a UFO, you would think they were just like somebody else, maybe wearing a uniform, but you would never think that they were aliens. Now, out of all of them, they are actually the rarest. The encounters with them are very rare. They might see their ships, but as a personal encounter with these type of aliens that look human, very rare.
They're rare.
They're the rarest, yeah.
Okay, and then the next ones now.
Now, these are the tall Nordic-looking aliens. Viking would be the better word. They're all very tall, at least 6 feet, including the women. Most of them have long blonde hair, and they each have the same receding hairline. Okay, so it makes their foreheads look very tall. These are the ones that I've seen myself personally that fly the triangle ships. I don't trust them.
Okay.
Don't trust them one little bit. I don't think.
Do you think these are dangerous?
Not dangerous. The impression I get from them, and I hate to use this as a term, but I always say, they look at us like cows. And that's the best description, the feeling I would ever get from them, that we're below them.
Okay. Do we have a picture of right here?
Now, these right here are the most interesting, okay? These are the short humanoids. Now, they look exactly like humans, except for they're short. They are from Mars. Okay.
Now, wait. Mm-hmm. You said these aliens right here are from Mars?
They are from Mars. They were once upon a time our height, but apparently a bombardment of meteorites destroyed their planet. They had to move underground where there was more air. The thing with them is over the generations, when you have less air and less food, your bodies get smaller. And that's what's happened with them. So they're not midgets. They're just a lot smaller. They are in egg-shaped ships. You don't see them very often. They're only interested in plant life, grass, trees, plants. I think as a way of, because of their planet.
You don't think they're interested in our human race?
No, they are actually very cautious of us. They don't want to really associate with us.
Do you think that these different aliens, you just showed us 3 different ones, and of course we're going to see the Greys. Do you think that they're aware of each other, or do they have interaction with each other?
They are absolutely aware of each other. And from what I gather with all the reports and investigation, especially with MUFON, there seems to be some kind of like uneasy alliance between all of them. Apparently they're working together, but it's an uneasy alliance.
Okay. The next one we got here now. These are the ones that we always see on TV. They're depicted in Hollywood. They're depicted everywhere. These are the Greys, correct?
Yes, these are the Greys. They'll come in like 3 different types. You've got short ones, which are told are just like workers. You've got the tall ones that look just like the short ones, except for they're 6 feet tall. And then you have ones that almost, they call them the praying mantis. The reason why they do was when I saw one, it was so skinny that it gave, its eyes were bigger, so it gave it more of a bug-like appearance, but I think it was humanoid. Never got the impression they're actually bugs. They're actually like humanoids. They're just different looking.
Okay, so you've personally seen these?
Yes. Oh,
you have seen these.
When we were children, we didn't know what they were, so we called them little people. They weren't kids because they were smart. So they were people. So we didn't know what to call them, so we called them little people.
Now, when it comes to the extraterrestrial travel, as far as how they get into our dimensional space, how they get here, I know that some scientists have talked about that it would just be they can't travel that fast, that far, so they have to be using some sort of mechanism to get here the way they get here. Explain what you how do you think that they get here?
What it was is they need a black hole, and our sun is a baby black hole. And all of them are using the sun's technology as a black hole. I don't know how they're doing it, but I've seen the ships go in there.
So you think that they're coming through a portal, a wormhole portal, and that's how they get to us?
Yes, exactly how and they're all using it, and they all have the same technology.
Do you think that there are UFOs that come from the center of our Earth?
I don't know about that. Okay,
Some people have said that, suggested that.
I believe that maybe there might be more technology advanced humans hiding in places in the Earth. There's a good chance that there is because of the evidence throughout the years.
Okay.
Whether or not it's a huge Earth, huge world inside the Earth, I don't believe that. But do I believe like there's patches? Of course.
So in all your years of research and studying on the subject, why do you think aliens are visiting us, or UFOs are visiting our planet?
The only ones I know for sure are the Greys, and everybody knows it's medical reasons. Okay, I've talked to men and women, and the most common is crossbreeding. I don't know why, have no idea why they're doing it. I do know that they are a dying race. Okay, and because they're dying, they're interested
dying. In the I know that the accounts I read, they're interested in our reproductive system, correct?
That's why they're trying to crossbreed like their new species, because they are dying, and by crossbreeding with us, they're hoping that their species will survive.
Well, you don't want to think that something like that's happening, but I don't think that we have the answers. But I mean, that seems like a plausible answer. I mean, because there are accounts of people that have said they have been abducted, and that the aliens are really interested in their reproductive organs.
And it's, believe it or not, it's the number one, it's the most. And when all the alien Greys, you go through all the case files, that's the number one. It is number one.
What, the Greys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, I also know that they do have an interest in our animals, because when I was living in New Mexico, when I was there, and this was not very long ago, less than 10 years ago, that there were some cattle that were found. Yeah. They were found completely drained of all the blood. There was no blood on the floor. It looked like they had used surgical instruments to remove certain organs from the cows. and they, you know, when they were reported and the sheriff would show up and they would take pictures, like who would stop, who would do that first of all if it was a human being doing it? And they said it was done with such precision, no blood. Do you think the grazer could be doing that too?
Believe it or not, and I feel sorry for the cows, but it's like us. They abduct us and bring us back. And it's almost like even though the cow is dead, they're bringing the cow back. You know, they do. They bring the cow back from where they abducted it. I don't know why they do that, why they just not, you know, take care of it, get rid of the body. But it's almost like they do the same thing with the humans. They just bring it back even though they killed it. I think that their interest, they don't know that much about us. They really don't. They're just now been studying us for the past few years, because the Greys, you never heard of them in ancient times. And when they were talking about UFOs, there were no description of Grey aliens.
So you think they're relatively new on the scene as far as aliens go?
They are, I think, one of the newest ones on the scene. And their interest in us is, it's just all I know is something to do with their survival. They're anxious, they're worried, they don't know half of what they're doing, and they don't. And I guess among them, they never really had those type of scientists. So they're just bumbling their way through.
In your research and in all these years, okay, you've told me off camera that you've had interaction and you've actually talked to people that have been abducted, right, by aliens, abductees as they're called. Have you had any right here in Virginia?
Yes, oh yes. And the last one that I talked to, she was mind blown because her apartment was like on the 14th floor, and she couldn't believe that she went through the window and a UFO was sitting right there, and she was just floating, and she remembered going toward it. She was abducted and through the window, and it scared her to death to be 14 feet off the ground when she got out the window and looked down and could see, you know, that right there would scare anybody. That's what woke her up. Because she looked down to the ground and she was so far up, she thought she was going to fall.
I mean, do you ever think that some of these people that have these experiences, do you ever think that sometimes this could either be a bad nightmare, a bad dream, maybe something they watched on TV, and then they, you know, it's what I'm trying to say. Is there a possibility that this is an hallucination or something from their imagination?
This is what I'm really good at, is you're listening to their story. And it's not just the story, it's the emotions and how they're telling their story. Because anybody that had an experience with a UFO, alien abduction, whatever, it's an experience they'll never forget because it scared them so badly because it's real. I mean, it really happened.
And a lot of those people
that
have those experiences, they're reluctant to really share that information with people because they think people are going to think that they're crazy.
They don't want anybody to know. They don't want anybody to know what happened. And there are some people that have been abducted for years and never talked to anybody about it. And I'm like, how long have you been having experience? And I'm shocked because they just lived with it all those years by themselves.
And you have said that you have had an experience with an abduction, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm used to it in California.
So you're saying you have been abducted.
Yes.
You're an abductee.
Yes.
So you understand what they're going through.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't tell anybody. Okay. Now, when I became a UFO hunter, I didn't tell everybody I was abducted. Now, even though I was investigation abductions, I didn't tell anybody my story, you know, until a couple years later that I felt like I can share it with the ones I was working with. Going, well, you know, I'm one of those people that we interviewed. And they were surprised.
That's really, I mean, the abduction part for me is really interesting. Yeah. We're going to have to take a commercial break. When we come back from the commercial, we're going to talk more to Gaylen about alien abductions. We're going to open up the phone lines for anyone who wants to give us a call and ask any kind of questions. This is fascinating. Yeah, I really like this. We're having fun. Come right back. We'll be back in a few minutes with Gaylen. We'll talk more about aliens.
Gardner. Trial by jury, it's the backbone of the American justice system. In this room, you're as important as the mightiest insurance company, and sometimes you have to drag them in here to make them pay. If you or someone you love has a case involving personal injury, give us a call. We know what to do.
Gardner, Barrow, Sharp, and Pearson, with offices in Martinsville and Danville.
At 24/7 Home Security, we keep you connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can control your thermostat, you can watch your cameras, all from your tablet and smartphone. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even the camera shooting this commercial can't hide from our systems. 24/7 Security, we can remote you into anything. 24/7 Home Security, located at 1000 South Memorial Boulevard, Martinsville, Virginia. Come see us.
Welcome to Fido's Finds and Kitty's Collectibles, where every sale and every donation benefit the Martinsville Henry County SPCA Animal Shelter. Located at 133 East Main Street in Uptown Martinsville, this thrift store and more celebrates its first anniversary in the newly renovated location. Staffed by volunteers, it showcases new and gently used items, as well as beautiful antiques for shoppers who enjoy a unique shopping experience. Store hours are Tuesday through Friday 10 to 5 and Saturday 10 to 2. Donations are accepted during business hours. Collection service is available for furniture or large items. We cannot accept all items, so please check with the store before bringing donations. Call us at 276-656-1101. Our customers return often, and you will too. And don't forget to like us on Facebook.
Hi there. Make sure that you come out to Barker's Auto Salvage beginning the month of April. All month long, we're doing 40% off. Yes, 40% off. Come out and help us celebrate our 40 years in business. There will be specials all month long. That is a secret at the moment. We're going to have t-shirts giveaway, different prizes, hats, and so forth. So please come out and help us celebrate our milestone.
To all of us, hometown means something a little different. Tending the land you love. A morning jog on the Dick and Willie Trail. Or seeing an old friend while getting the best cup of coffee in town. For Memorial Hospital of Martinsville and Henry County, hometown means commitment, just as it has since our doors first opened in 1970. It's a commitment that can be seen in our mission to deliver high-quality patient care close to home, and through our many partnerships which support local organizations, schools, and businesses. It can be experienced through improvements to our facility, from renovations and new services to cutting-edge technology. It can be felt in the passion of our hard-working staff who devote themselves fully to providing exceptional care to their neighbors and friends. It's a commitment that reaches beyond the halls of our hospital and into the hearts of our many patients. Memorial Hospital of Martinsville and Henry County. Hometown healthcare builds a healthy community.
We're back inside the Paranormal Virginia. I'm with Gaylen Chauncey. She is a UFO investigator and a paranormal investigator. We've been talking about UFOs, extraterrestrial life, aliens. It's been so much fun so far, and we're going to open up the lines in a few minutes to take some of your calls. Before we went on break, I just started to talk to Gaylen about her experience as being a UFO abductee. So why don't you just tell the audience, tell the viewers exactly what happened to you when you were abducted?
Well, what it was the last time, and I've been abducted more than once, so I'll just give you an
okay, how many
experience.
times do you think you've been abducted?
At least 7 or 8 that I can remember.
And it goes back all the way to how long?
Since I was, probably since about 8 years old.
Since you were 8 years old, which alien kind of group abducted you?
It would be the Greys, and this was one thing that was very strange. I am an identical twin, okay? And for some reason, they would always come in the house to come get us. And
so was your sister abducted also?
No, because they could put some kind of mental control over me, but they couldn't do it to my sister. For some reason, they never could get her under control, so what she would do was she would sneak out the window and run from the house and hide.
Did she witness you being abducted? Did she tell your parents?
Yeah.
And so your parents are aware of your abduction?
Yeah, they
and
were.
your sister, your family, so so it's not a secret?
It was not a secret.
Right.
But it was a secret that you didn't tell anybody else.
It was just like a little dirty little secret that's our secret. We don't want it out because they'll think we're crazy, we're making this stuff up.
My dad would say, and I didn't understand when he said this because I was real young. I do now years later, but he says, they'll say that they're little green men from Mars. And at the time, when he was trying to explain to us not to talk about it, I didn't know what he meant by that. And then years later, I went, oh, okay, I get it. What people would say.
Because of his error and when he was brought up, little green men from Mars.
Exactly. But it was just said, don't.
So what happened when the first time you were abducted? Tell us what happened.
Well, like I said, they were real nice. You know, they just took us on their ship, okay? And at the time, I was aware of them. Even though I was following them, I wasn't afraid of them. Okay, my sister was gone, and they could never find her.
Was there anybody else on the ship other than you, as far as a human?
There were other people on the ship. A lot of times, there were other people on the ship, and they were like me. They were we were like puppets that danced to their tune.
I mean, did you have free will? Were you able to?
No, absolutely not.
So you were under their control?
Yeah, I was under their control. If they wanted me to walk, I walked. But sometimes I was aware of it, and it made me frustrated that I couldn't control my body. It did exactly
what they wanted. And they weren't using verbal words?
No, I was telepathic. It was frustrating. Like I said, I felt like a puppet. I had no control over how my body was moving.
And you really weren't afraid?
No.
I mean, I would be terrified if I was in a spaceship like that. I mean, I would be. I'm just saying.
Having my ability to see ghosts were not all nice ghosts. They scared me more than the aliens. Ghosts put off an energy that was dangerous to me. These aliens didn't put off the energy. So as far as I was concerned, they were the good guys and the ghosts were the bad guys.
So you were more afraid of ghosts than you were of being abducted by aliens.
Exactly. Ghosts were more dangerous.
That's interesting.
The ghosts were more dangerous.
Because I would be so much more terrified of being abducted by. I always thought to myself, if ever since I had that one encounter, and it was a brief encounter, but I said, well, I would hope I would be strong enough to maybe fight my way out of it or run away and try to get away. But I also heard all these accounts of how people are totally immobilized. Yeah. I did hear of this, though, by several people, that when people were abducted, if they invoked the name of Jesus, that the abduction stopped. Did you ever hear that?
I've heard of that, but I think a lot of it was, like my sister, some people can break that control. And I don't know why.
What do you think broke that control? They're using the name of Jesus.
I don't know what it is because I wish I could. It never worked for me.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Did you ever say, Jesus, help me?
Yep.
It didn't work?
No. And I think I lacked this ability to
fight them off.
Yeah, exactly. And my twin sister, she was gone every time. I don't ever remember her ever being abducted with me. Now, I remember my younger sister, but my twin was never abducted with me. And when those things were in the house, she freaked because Greys like to touch everything. They pick up everything, they check out the house, every knick-knack like they've never seen it before.
So your family, it wasn't only you that lived with this abduction, it was your entire family lived with it.
Exactly. Oh, the whole family. Like I said, my sister was the only one, my twin, who probably was not abducted.
Now this is years later, of course, people, did you guys still ever talk about it?
Oh, we talked about it for years. It cleared up a lot, because I was a little kid when it first started, so talking to my mom and dad years later, they cleared up those memories, telling me this is what happened, you remember a partial memory, but this was what happened. And when I listened to it, a lot of them are pretty scary, that being chased by UFOs, trying to get away from the car. Some families and some people are tagged. I don't know why, but my family's one of them. And my family still lives in California, and they still get abducted.
They really? Wow. Well, we're going to take some calls now. We have some callers on the line. You could ask Gaylen anything you want. You could ask me. I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know what kind of answer I'm going to give you about this, but Gaylen will talk to you. So, you're on Inside the Paranormal.
This question is directed for Gaylen. My name's Paul Pruitt. I've heard that there are like 3 basic descriptions of aliens, like the grays and the reptoids and the so-called beautiful aliens. I was wondering could you comment on these, and are there any more descriptions of aliens? And toward the young lady there, is she related in any way to the beautiful alien?
Oh, okay. With all the types of aliens out there, I can't even count them all. There's just too many. I mean, we just listed the most common aliens that are out there, but there is just, I mean, if you go back in history and look at all the drawings and all the paintings and all the artwork, and you see all these different aliens, you tell me how many you counted. That's how many are out there. And the UFOs, the different shapes are the same reason.
But the most common ones that are recently are the grays.
Yes, are the grays. They're the most common.
Gray ones.
Are they kind of the worker types?
Well, the short ones are workers, but the tall ones are leaders. They are a race. It's not like they work for another race. They are a race, a gray alien race. And like I said, it's something to do with them dying is why they're so interested in us. And that's why we see them the most. They're the ones who are doing most of the abductions.
Well, hey, thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you.
You're on Inside the Paranormal. You got a question for us?
Yes, sir. I find it very intriguing, as I'm sure you guys probably get a lot of skeptics. I'm not saying I'm skeptic. My question is, or comment, maybe she can elaborate, or you, why is the government keeping this here just like they do everything else? Because I think the aliens are probably growing in population. There's one reason they don't want us to know about it. Is it, you think that would be a true statement or false?
It could be true.
Do you think aliens are living amongst us?
I believe the aliens are living among us. I believe that the government has a lot of technology that really might be weapons or ships that they could use. And all the other countries would be a little mad at us.
Do you think we have technology that we captured from aliens?
Yes.
And the reason why the United States doesn't want to, talk about the aliens is because they would have to share some of that technology.
Exactly.
So they just want to keep it very secretive. Well, thanks for your question. Let's see. Okay. Talk a little bit more now about, like you said, the grays are the new ones that are coming, and you have other ones that are coming. Are there ones that you think that they were depicted before that now they just don't come anymore?
I think what it is here is it's a rarity. Like I said, the ones that look human, that fly, the cigar shapes, you might see their ships, but you rarely see them landing on Earth. I don't know why, and very few encounters by people who've seen them.
Okay, we have another caller. You're on the line Inside the Paranormal.
Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all talking about Bigfoot tonight?
No, tonight's not Bigfoot. Tonight we're talking about aliens and UFOs.
But Bigfoot is among Bigfoot has been sighted with UFOs a lot.
Right, and when Bigfoot researcher Billy Willer was on, he said that there is some correlation. There is some Bigfoot sightings that go with UFOs. Do you think that maybe UFOs has something to do with Bigfoot?
You know what? I believe they do the same thing with them that they do with us. They just control them and use them.
Something I was curious about, do you think it may be a possibility that we could have a Bigfoot here locally up to, say, Philpott or Perrystone?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Because it's got everything a Bigfoot needs. It's got food, water, and cover.
And it's a good place to hide, and anytime there is Bigfoot, there's usually a lot of UFO sightings, too.
Really?
Yeah, you always see that.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in. So you think where there's a lot of sightings of Bigfoot, like in Northern California, where you're from, right? The Bigfoot, like Billy Willer talked about, right? And you think that has something to do with UFOs?
Well, my dad told me a story that his grandfather told him, who was a full-blooded Indian when he was a young kid. And apparently a UFO had landed and into a field, and they watched as a couple of Bigfoots came out of the woods and toward the UFO. And they thought, oh, these must be the occupants of the UFO, and they're watching this. And when they're watching it, they realized that the Bigfoots were walking around like they were zombies under control, okay? And they don't know what they were carrying, but they were carrying boxes to the UFO. And when the UFO left, it left them standing there, and he said it was like they woke up.
So the UFOs were controlling the Bigfoot,
that's what
just like they control humans, and they're studying Bigfoot?
Yeah, I think, and that's what his grandfather...
I mean, this is turning into almost like zombies versus vampire stuff.
So, yeah, and that's why I say
I love this.
Bigfoot. I know, that's why I'm like...
we have another caller. Let's see. You're on the line inside the Paranormal.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad y'all got this show on. I love this show.
Thank you. We love it too. You know what? I mean, this is the 4th show. They've gone by so fast. Every show has been just as good as the next, and I just love it.
Well, I've seen a triangular UFO.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was coming up 58 one night. It was my brother and myself. And at first, when I saw the big bright lights, I thought it was a jet engine, a jet plane getting ready to crash. And by that time, we had reached a great big parking lot at this church, and we pulled off into it, and I jumped out of the car, and that thing just floated silently over us, and this is the days before the cell phones, and my brother says, you reckon we ought to call somebody, sissy? I said, who the hell we going to call?
Who's going to believe you? It's pretty common for people not wanting to report it, right?
Yeah. Oh, they won't.
I really am. I ask everybody about UFOs because they fascinate me. And I'm so glad y'all got this show on tonight, as well as all the other shows. And what I'm really looking forward to is the show y'all going to do about other dimensions.
Well, I'm going to have some more shows, not in the near future, but probably the Halloween season. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you for letting me in.
Okay.
And everybody look out for UFOs.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Okay, you're on the line inside the Paranormal.
Hi, this is Wanda. I was wondering, do you always remember if you have been abducted, or is there sometimes you don't remember?
Believe it or not, most people do not remember they've been abducted, okay? The only ones that seem to have partial memories, even me, I don't have the whole memory of the abduction. It just is partial memories, and that's the way it is with most people. They have no idea they've been abducted.
There's a time distortion, right?
Yeah.
There's a lack of memory. Sometimes lack of hours go by. I've read accounts where people, the one that I read was with these guys went canoeing, and all of a sudden there was like 6 or 8 hours went by, and their fire had died down, and to them it was like, where did the time go?
And they didn't remember
anything.
Right,
and they didn't remember anything until years later. Some of them started to remember. It seemed like after a certain amount of time, some of your memory comes back.
Yes,
is that true too?
That happens. I don't know if it's starting to wear off whatever hold they had, but the memories really do start surfacing, which is why a lot of people get hypnotized. They have a partial memory and they want the whole thing, so they get hypnotized to bring that memory forward.
And hypnosis has been pretty effective in people recalling their experiences as being abductees, correct?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. And by then, they're remembering little bits of it, and it's bothering them enough to go, I want to find out what's going on. What really did happen to me?
We're going to put up a graphic here. Gaylen can be contacted by anyone that has had experiences with UFOs or want to know more information about UFOs. This is the network, MUFON, Smith Mountain Lake. She also has, right there, as you can see on the top left-hand side, afterlifegoeson.com. That's your personal website, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you could contact Gaylen if you want to know more about UFOs, if you had an experience. Maybe you had an experience and you don't know who to talk to. she'd probably be the one to talk to,
Because
right?
a lot of people just want to tell somebody their story and they don't know who they can talk to that will listen to them without laughing at them.
Right, and I know that it must be a real hard subject for some people to bring up because it's not looked upon by a lot of people as being credible. There's a lot of naysayers.
Yeah, and it's all types of people. I mean, everybody. It's not. I mean, it's
in all different areas of life, people, right? And it's all over the country, but it's also all over the world. People have had these experiences, right?
It is a worldwide phenomenon. Okay, and luckily with this day and age of technology, with security cameras and iPhones, more pictures and video are showing up of UFOs because of this, and that's a good thing.
Right, we have technology to capture the evidence of it, but it's sort of like the same way with Bigfoot, with ghosts, with, I mean, I think you could have the most credible evidence, and a lot of people are still going to say no. But you know what? I believe in UFOs.
Yes.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I believe in ghosts.
Yes.
Because I've experienced. Or has a certain amount of experience, and I know that a lot of the people that I have talked to, all my guests, have been very sincere. We're just about ready to wrap this up. I just wanted to say this. The last 4 weeks have been an exciting time for me in my life. I never thought I would have, a TV show and talking about all these kind of mysterious, that I consider them cool subjects. I didn't do this myself. I've had great guests. I want to send out a real loving thanks and a kiss to my wife, Candy. I got the best wife in the world. She supports me. She loves me, and she puts up with me too.
There you go.
But I have a beautiful wife. I have some great friends that have helped me with this. Hollywood, you're the best. Greg, you're a good guy. Graveyard Bob, I'm sure. I mean, he gave us some great pictures. There's been so many people that have helped me with this show. We're gonna try and do a Halloween special in October. I don't know how many shows it's going to be, and we're going to probably maybe may even get some of our guests back because we could be talking to you for another hour about UFOs. You've been such a great guest.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to Inside the Paranormal Virginia. I'm John Salas. This is Gaylen Chauncey with the MUFON Network. Be sure to watch us in October for some more exciting adventures on Inside the Paranormal Virginia. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Inside the Paranormal Virginia.